Okay, everybody, you see everything I pretty much got here. It's all stick welded. This table, stick welded. The bed I sleep on, stick welded. All metal, stick welded. My TV, stick welded with plywood. Little table here, stick welded. Little table here, stick welded. Everything stick welded, man. Hard to get wood here. Very hard. So, turn off all these lights here. If I want to do something or make something, it's going to be stick welded. Now, about that. I'm a beginner like anybody else in welding. I get my information from YouTube just like anybody else. Plus, I have a friend in the Philippines who's an excellent welder, and he helps me sometimes. But I started my first welding job with the old Lincoln I bought brand new, 240 volt, in Bonita Springs, Florida. I was air conditioning guy, and then in the nights and the weekends, I had a long service, and I had a big heavy metal trailer that I pulled around, and the leaf spring broke off the axle. So I had to buy that Lincoln stick welder, my first arc welding job ever. Back then I was like 21, I'm 67 now. There's no YouTube or anything like that to get self-help videos. So what I had to do is I had to fix that trailer or I'd lose my customers. And it was raining, hurricane season, floods in Florida. So what I had to do is I rigged up a extension cord, hooked it to my dryer, put a plug on it for the dryer outlet, 30 amp, and then made sure that the Lincoln welder wasn't setting in the water, and made sure the extension cord was not in the water. And I had to lay underneath the trailer in the water with the welder, hoping I wasn't going to get electrocuted, and I welded the axle so I could go on about doing my customers, cutting their grass and everything else. That was my side job. I was doing air conditioning in daytime, and then after work I'd cut grass and on the weekends, so I worked all the time. And just imagine not knowing what you're going to do. You're arc welding, stick welding, with a 240 volt Lincoln stick welder, and you're welding the leaf springs on it. And what happened was the most nastiest weld you ever saw, chunky peanut butter. But it held. I had that trailer for another year and a half, and the weld never came loose. So that was my first welding job. I don't know, I was maybe 21 or something, fresh out of 3.5 years as an infantryman in the U.S. Army. I was in there for 3 years, and I extended to get the command sponsored for another 6 months. And when my 3.5 years was off, I went into the air conditioning trade and did a long service job. And then I started doing electrical. I worked for an electrical contractor as well. I worked for him on weekends and after work when he needed help. So I got to do both trades. And the air conditioning and electrical is why my body was so broke. Carrying them heavy ACs by myself a lot of the time. And then when I went overseas in Afghanistan, using the Hilti 40-pound rotary hammer to drill holes above the door, 12-hour shifts. I got a hernia, my second one. The first one I got from the AC. Anyway, So that's my beginning of arc welding. Then I haven't done any welding at all until I got to the Philippines again. You know, when I had the Lincoln, I did I welded some racks for my shovels and stuff like that, fixed the axle, did some welding stuff then, and it wasn't pretty. And then I worked overseas in the Middle East, in Iraq and Afghanistan for about 8 years, and then when I came to the Philippines, I didn't do any welding. And then when I came to Dinagat Island, I started welding because, you know, back then I think my Lincoln cost over $200 when I was 21 or so. But now I can buy a flux core welder or a stick welder for under $100 in the Philippines. But the problem is, when you look on YouTube, you get all these MIG welding and stick welding channels, and they're buying welding machines, the cheap ones they call cheap, $200-300. And most of them have options inside the welder where they can switch the polarity. They'll have a plus and a minus. Well, on the cheap $50 welder here, you don't have that option. That's why I made that video, to show options on a budget. They have machines out there that actually are set up for just flux core, and that's what I recommend. Once you start doing the flux core welding, you don't even need a stick welder. If you're doing light metal from, I'd say, 1/4 inch or less, or, you know, you do a lot of 1/8 inch, like angle iron or stuff like that, all you need is a MIG welder. You're going to get into professional stuff and fabrication, and you're going to use heavier metal all the time, like 1/4 and 1/2, then, you know, you're going to need a stick welder as well. But for just the light stuff, 1/4 inch and less, you know, and I use mostly 1/8 inch or less, flux core is all you need, and you're going to get better welds and everything else. You know, you can weld good with a stick weld, but you need to work at it, practice. Just like anything else, you got to practice. Make sure that your material you're working on and welding, make sure you clean it. Get a grinder and make sure that there's no rust or paint or anything on there. Make sure you have clean welds to start with. And go online and watch some videos of the welding, you know, stuff like that. But what really messed me up is I went ahead and bought this MIG 999 welding machine because I watched online videos, and I thought, no problem, I can go open the door and boom, I have a plus and minus and change the polarity and I'd be good to go. Right? Wrong. The cheap welder didn't have that option. I had to actually physically change the positive and negative internally in the machine. That's what the most of these flux core sites do not tell you, okay? I'm telling you. If you're on a budget, you don't have a lot of money. I'm in the Philippines. I get Social Security, that's it. So I'm a poor man. I don't have $300 to $500 to buy a nice welding machine. I don't even have a welding table. I do my welding on the ground on a cement slab. I don't have room to put all that stuff. You see, I only have one room and a bathroom in the back end, but that's it. I don't have no place to put everything here. So it's makeshift. Do what you can with what you got. So that's why I told you guys I'm inexperienced as the rest of you guys. I've done a lot of welding stuff lately in Dinagat, but I've had my friend help me do the weldings as well. So I'm going to go ahead and show the project. So I'm going to make a new dumbbell rack, and I'm going to make a new table out here, all metal. It's hard to get wood here because they have restrictions on it. You can get plywood easy enough, but anything else, better to make it in metal. Alright guys, that's enough jib for now talking. Y'all take care. Bye.